Hey all, Hipper here. So today we are checking out the Hipper. And of course I have a full Agile build on this ship here. I'm not going to show the build because I'll show it in my next Hipper video where I'll go into details about how much this build actually helps this ship. Because what I'm running here is Lutyens with Azure Lane Baltimore as an inspiration and Arpeggio Takao as well. It gets the rudder down from 2.5 seconds to 2.4 seconds, sorry, to an astonishing 2.1 second on what used to be at least one of the more slow cruisers in the game, and that's definitely not the case anymore. Hipper is almost as agile as they come now, and it's just made this ship incredible fun to play. And that's why it has just shot up to being my favorite cruiser in the game, probably tied with the Edinburgh at the moment. So this video here is a showcase of the fact that you can kite in a Hipper. Some people say you can't, but that's just because they don't have the build to allow that to be done. And I just want to say this as well, that like an agile build is not a kiting build. An agile build can kite, and obviously it kites very well, but it's not the primary purpose of an agile build. It's actually one of the very last skills that you make use of. So here we used our agile build on our quite quick cruiser here to get into a good position to be able to cap the middle cap before anyone else gets into position. And of course I have my finger hovering over the sonar in case someone, namely a destroyer, challenges this cap here. And I'm just waiting for someone to pop in here and the cap to say contested, and then I'll pop the sonar and I'll switch to HE, and then I'll just pretty much rush out and nuke the destroyer. Of course that doesn't happen because he must be somewhere else. But that just allows me to cap without any resistance at all in the first few minutes of the game here. So we're already at a clear advantage now, having the middle cap from the beginning, because that cap's pretty hard to get in this game here when you only have one destroyer on each team, because it's just so dangerous to go into that middle there unless you are a destroyer. So getting this cap here right off the bat will help my team immensely. So the other guys have taken C, and they're a little bit more standoffish over at A. So I decide that I will help defend C first, because then we'll get a nice points lead, and hopefully we'll be able to keep B at the same time, because defending C means that you'll be able to reset ships on B as well. So to me that makes more sense. And the guys over at A will just have to hold out until we can clean out C and then come and help them. So although we have 2 caps, we are actually down on points already, because as you can see we've already lost a battleship. I actually don't even notice how or when that happened, because honestly I don't understand how you can lose a battleship in the first 3 or 4 minutes of the game. That should be impossible. And the only reason that that's pretty much happening is that some battleship player must have gone broadside on to the enemy. That's all I can explain it. So anyway, like I said, we're going to defend C because the enemies are pushing in now, and it's a good way to get some defense, and obviously also make them waste time, because the cap is ours. So we just have to defend it, and that's much easier than actually having to take the cap. So we lost the cruiser as well now. So at this point I'm even happier that I actually pushed in and took the B cap right off the bat, because it still keeps us in the game here. We are almost 100 points behind, although we shouldn't be. But there's time to fix this. It's not over yet. So I can tell this Kurfürst here has us dialed in here. Obviously 4 ships were targeting me at that point, but like obviously the Kurfürst is the biggest threat. So that's the one I was keeping my eye on, and it gives us a little more of a gift there, I guess. I don't know if that was him or someone else. So about last year, I think I wouldn't have considered Hipper like a real agile cruiser, because the rudder was still above 3 seconds, I think, before Azure Lane Baltimore came out. And although the ship was like okay fast back then, you could take it up to around 38 knots. Of course, it's a little bit slower now because I had to put on other inspirations. But that meant getting the rudder down from those 3 point something seconds down to what I said before is 2.1 seconds, which is frankly pretty crazy for Hipper, because I always considered it a little bit of a slow child. But with these 2 inspirations here, it is like one nasty agile cruiser. See how fast it changes direction, so you can angle your armor. It's just, well, incredible that it can do it. So the reason I keep kiting this Odin here is obviously the fact that he has torpedoes. Had this been pretty much any other battleship, I probably would have turned around and engaged him. It's always tempting to make use of those torpedoes in Hipper and Prince Eugen, for example, but against other ships with torpedoes, see if you can't take them out some other way first before you turn to the torps, because there's nothing more like annoying than 2 Hippers torping each other, and that usually happens when you go one-on-one against another Hipper or Prince Eugen. I mean, like even then it's hard with an agile build to avoid the torps, because you have to get in so close, 6 kilometers in Hipper, and each cruiser has 2 banks. So yeah, it is difficult. Of course, if you don't fire your own torps, it's much easier to dodge, and then you'll just have to pray that once you pass the enemy, you'll be able to fire your torps rearwards. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. So it's better to just like keep your distance from torp cruisers, and especially torp battleships here, at least until you can set up some sort of surprise attack or anything like that, which obviously I can't here because there's so much open water on this map here. So that Odin will see me coming from miles away. So I'm just going to waste some time here. We still have the C cap, and obviously we still have the B cap that I took in the beginning. So I mean, that cap's just paying off again and again and again here throughout the whole game. All stations, concentrate fire on the target. So with it being 3 versus 1 on this flank here, and with me having no way of surprising these guys, the best thing is to just waste time by kiting away and then keep resetting the cap. Now, I see many players don't really realize how important it is to reset a cap that's getting, well, capped. And really, sometimes it is, well, actually in most times, it is the difference between winning and losing. Resetting the cap means that you have to start almost all over again when you want to like flip the cap. And obviously that means you have to expose yourself for another minute. So by continually resetting a cap, you are forcing the enemy to stay exposed inside the cap. Of course, right now I cannot see the cruisers who are actually capping, but I'm just taking it out on the Odin.
Nice work. Attention, reporting the target position.
So don't forget to reset caps. It's very important, and especially if you are about to die and you only have one salvo left, it's better to send that salvo at someone on the enemy team who is capping and then resetting him than pretty much anything else. So if you just stop and think about this build here for a second, actually Hipper is now just as agile as Atago is. Actually, perhaps a little bit more, since its turning radius is smaller than Atago's. And to me, that just kind of signals that all tier 7 cruisers seems to be selected to be more and more agile by Wargaming. When this game came out, there was a clear distinction between agile cruisers, or cruisers that could be agile, and cruisers that couldn't. Like I said before, Hipper was like a 3.54 second rudder with a full rudder build, which doesn't make sense. While Atago could go down to, I think, 2.8 or something, just under 3 seconds. But with the new like inspirations, and also the fact that all the tier 7 cruisers had, I think it was 10% rudder cut off, or was it a second, I can't remember, back when the legendaries was released. It now means that pretty much any tier 7 cruiser can be turned into a pretty successful agile cruiser. And even Edinburgh, which was like earlier kind of a rock, sort of like similar to Hipper, but these days both Edinburgh and Hipper, they are exceptional agile cruisers. So it kind of messes up the whole agile, non-agile cruiser thing, I think. Of course, some cruisers do better as agile cruisers than others, but they can all, in theory, become an agile cruiser now. For example, Kutuzov and Shapayev, the numbers say that they are excellent agile cruisers with like very fast rudder and like quite good speed, and of course good range on the guns. But the fact of the matter is that they are awful agile cruisers, because they are just so sluggish. Both like the turning rate and the acceleration and slowing down, and everything is just it's just slow. And then it doesn't matter then if you have 2 second rudder, or you can go like whatever 40 knots if you take forever to get there. So it's not all about the stats, although of course they play a very big role. Now Hipper also has a 0.1 second faster rudder than Prince Eugen, and it actually has a 30 meter smaller turning radius as well, which makes it noticeably more agile than Prince Eugen is. And that's also why I have my agile build on Hipper, and I have my more traditional range build on Prince Eugen now, just to make them different, because otherwise, yeah, they would be very, very similar, and it would be a little boring. So anyway, this video here was a showcase of Hipper and how you can actually kite in this ship. Of course, it requires the right setup, but if you got the commanders and you got the resources and you got the, like, well, I don't know, the wish to do it, you can do it, and it works exceedingly well. You can, of course, also run a different build on Hipper. You don't have to run agile builds, but that's what I do. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you out there.